Welcome to today's episode of The Power of Reinvention. Here we talk with my guests about the dreams, the visions, and the passions that individuals have every day and dare to explore them. Whether it's business or personal, you're entitled to live the life that you want, and no matter what the circumstances, you have the power to create success, fulfill your dreams, and live with passion. That's what I'm talking about. So dare greatly and happy reinventing, folks. Let's do this.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Power of Reinvention. You know, you're going to hear this a lot in the coming weeks as I am talking to some of the most incredible and my favorite women, as it is International Women's Month. And we are celebrating some of the most extraordinary women, not only in my life, but in general. And you are going to hear this smile on my face, whether or not you can see it, because I am talking to literally one of my best friends in the world, Debbie Benadiba. Hi, Debbie.
Hi. Oh my God, it's so great to be here. Thank you. I love you.
I love you too, honey. It is just such an honor and a joy for us to have this conversation. And I think everybody will understand there's so many reasons why as we delve into this. And before we get started, I am going to share just a little background so everybody understands the context of the world that you are in and what you are up to.
Great.
And we are going to have a really interesting chat today about all the things that influence not only your life, but a lot of the women and the humans around you. So Debbie is the CEO of Talon Outdoor Canada, the largest independent out-of-home planning and buying agency in the world. Her 25 plus years in the industry have proven her deep passion and enthusiasm for media, her foremost capability of building effective and collaborative teams, and her strength in relationship building and management that will allow her to execute on Talon's mission of reimagining the industry to one that is highly effective, creative, sustainable, and measurable for their clients. She currently serves on the board of directors for the DPAA and COMMB, the two leading out-of-home industry associations in North America. And most importantly, she is a champion for empowering and embracing equity and gives every opportunity to mentor and build the women of our future. Outside of media, her teenage kids are a blessing. She is a certified spin instructor, has a passion for dance and fitness, and is a recent breast cancer survivor. She is the ultimate story in brilliance, resilience, and one of the funnest people I know. I get the privilege of being in so many of our favorite industry events and places and cities together. My partner in crime, my chief co-troublemaker with me, and always a brilliant force in the world of business when I want to talk about all the things that we are challenged with every day. And I am just so delighted to have you here, Debbie. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. I'm so
Are we
happy
done?
to be here. And
You're like, okay, good. Are we done?
no, we're not done at all. We're just getting started.
So thank
Yeah,
you.
it's always interesting to hear, someone talk about your bio and all the work that you've done. And so the work that I do with WE.DOOH, it's Women's Empowerment Digital at home, and we call it WE.DOOH, which is amazing.
We do. Yeah.
Is incredible because I get to connect with so many women in our industry. We get to mentor the young women that really look up to some of the leaders in our industry. And that's probably one of my favorite things that I get to do in my day-to-day.
And I think the classic, as we've all heard over and over again, if you can see her, you can be her. The role model that you are to so many. Seeing your role as the CEO of the company, as a female leader, your tenacity, your strength, the gentle nature with which you rule with an iron fist, all of it, is an incredible position for you to be in and an amazing way to lead the future generations. So I know so many are so grateful for that. I'm going to start with a fun question, though, which is one of my favorite. And I've met a lot of your family, and I can only picture it. But who was little Debbie? And what dreams did you have growing up? Did you ever imagine your life and career would unfold the way they have? Are you where you feel like you're going to be for now, for a long time, for, just like, What was it in your early days that might have been a signal
Mm,
of where you are today or not at all? It's always fun
right.
to look back at that.
I love that. So little Debbie was, if you picture, like, I'm one of 5 children, and like we have a photo of like all my cousins. I have 22 first cousins, and I've got hands out like this. You can't see me in the camera,
Jazz
but
hands.
hands out, jazz hands out. Everybody's in a straight line, a little awkward. And Debbie's just like out there, like, here I am, and I'm ready for the world. So I feel like, I kind of always had that personality. My grade 5 teacher said to my parents, wow, you've got like a dynamo on your hands. She's going to do whatever she wants to do in life. And, just, let her run with it. As, in grade 3, when I was 8 years old, I literally did a dance solo on stage in front of my whole elementary school to Careless Whisper by George Michael. I didn't even understand the words, but I definitely danced to the song. And I wanted to be a backup dancer for Janet Jackson. She was one of my faves. So I was going to be in creative. I was going to dance. I loved fitness at such a young age. I would go to my mom's step classes when I was 12. But what led me to advertising, because I really didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew, I was going to do something fun and creative. What led me to advertising is I was in school at university, and we were watching Melrose Place in the 90s. So I'm dating myself, and Heather Locklear was just the most incredible account executive. And I thought, wow,
Yes.
what is
In her
advertising? I think I need
her
to
little
be her.
short skirt power suits, right?
She was just such a powerhouse. And I was studying statistics at the time and knew like there was no way I could take a bank job. That would be so boring. Even though I was really good at math and, really linear, but also had this creative side to me. And I literally opened up the yellow pages back then. I was like, okay, I have a university degree, and now I need to go back to school because I need to understand what advertising is all about. And I started a certificate in media sales, and that's what got me my first internship in the world of advertising. And definitely those two key women are my mentors for sure in the advertising business, and one of which is my client today. And so we've been working together
I
26 years.
love
She brought
that.
me in the industry, and now she's one of my largest clients today.
That's incredible. I mean, that is really amazing to be able to look back on that trajectory and that journey and know where those people have really stayed in your life and been a part of your life. And to have that, I mean, that's really, really precious. So, in this journey, were there moments where you felt like, there were challenges and expectations that you had to break through, especially as a woman? I mean, we know going back, advertising and the media world was probably a quote unquote man's world at one point, not so much today.
Definitely.
But what's that been like? And also, you're in a different market. How is it there in North America,
Yeah,
in
I think,
Canada? Like,
in
what's the difference?
26 years, back then, and I still think it's a very male dominated industry, while maybe the media agency space is quite female dominated. But, when you're on the vendor side, I was in sales most of my career, and it was definitely a male dominated table. And so I always had to prove out my ideas. I felt like, the men in the room could say something, wasn't always that smart. And it was like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. And when, but I really had to back them up with a business case and case studies and reasons why, we should do things a certain way. And so I felt like I've always, always had to do that. And there was this point in my career in 2016, I was working at a tier one of the biggest companies, in Canada, tier one. And I thought, how am I going to get to the next level? What do I need to do, to get to that, SVP level, to be able to run a company, to be a CEO, to be a president? And I felt like I had to go back to school. And that's when I went back to school and I did an executive MBA because I felt like as a female, I needed those letters, I needed the credentials. And literally, as I posted credentials on my LinkedIn, did I get recruited for a presidency role.
Wow. It's really incredible. And when you look at the landscape and the challenges and, the quote unquote glass ceiling, the equal pay issues that we're still contending with, and you look at how hard we as women work. I mean, let's take a moment and say, as a mother who has raised children, who is a daughter, who is a sister, who is a friend, who is an executive asking that we take on as women and our capability and frankly, the way we move through it all with grace and style and
Yeah.
tenacity is unbelievable. It's like, yeah, why aren't we making more than truly? With all due
Yeah.
respect, but it's
Yeah.
something that I think, we're definitely setting the table for those that come after us and helping build that as we've seen, the changes over the years. But, it's not without a lot of hard work and long hours and, fighting the
No.
fight, right?
Yeah.
Do you find that the mentors in your life have come more from women or men or a good combination of the both?
Yeah, I think most of the mentors, of course, my mother is like my best friend and she's the most beautiful human. You know her and
I can
she's
attest to
with me all
that.
the time. We
Absolutely.
travel together, we do
Love
everything together. So of course my mom and I have beautiful sisters. Yeah, I do think the mentors in my life have been my female leaders that have really supported me and helped me get to where I am today. And I count all of those women now as very close friends. But, having female leaders also is tough, right? So I found like I've had, male leaders had to prove yourself a little bit more. Female leaders have been tough as well, but most of them have turned into mentors. And so I think it's a little bit of a combination of both, I would say, for me in
Yeah.
this environment.
Yeah. It's interesting. I have spent a lot of time mentoring a lot of young people over the years and running my own business for 37 years. Had a combination of young men and women working for me over the years, but also the children of all of my friends that send their kids to me to help them find jobs or to get a job or to have an internship. And it is one of the things that gives me the greatest joy ever. It's paying it forward. It's inspiring, but I think that even for us to be mentoring young people, both boys and girls, is incredibly rewarding. And it reminds us of who we are. And sometimes we don't get a chance
Yeah.
to sort of really acknowledge our own superpowers or our knowledge. We take for granted sometimes what we know, who we are, what our strengths are. We just go about our business doing what we do. And I think it's a very rewarding thing to be a mentor. What I find really interesting, and I discovered this many, many years ago, I think it feels like almost before it was really a conversation, if you will, that it was getting the young men that you got to mentor to help them identify and value the power of women in leadership and the value that that would later serve them in life, both as human beings, as potential partners and husbands, as workers at a company. And I always got great joy out of helping young men realize that, what might have been a typical role model once upon a time for them was no longer the case. And I definitely have a rebellious nature. It's the reason I run my own company. I don't like to do things in the straight and narrow or color between the lines, so that's not so unusual. But I'm sure you've had some incredible experiences mentoring young people as they've come up in the business.
Yeah, incredible. I think that's one of my favorite parts. When you get to the top and you're a CEO, it's so hard to, be present. And one of the things I do is I manage by walking around. I learned that years ago, right? Because, these young folks
Interesting.
aren't going to get to talk to me and connect with me. So I come into the office and I drop my bags and I walk around the office and I talk to everybody. And I think that's why I've built such an incredible culture in the office and people want to hang out with me. And that's how I mentor. I typically mentor day in and day out. I'm providing feedback. I sit with someone. I ask them, open up your plan. What are you working on? Let's have a look at it. Did you think about this? So I'm sort of constantly mentoring in my day to day. And that's what I love about my day-to-day job is that I get to go in and really mentor these young, incredible women who are so eager to just learn and be leaders and look up to me and the leadership group. I
And
also,
probably
I'm a part
so
of certain
grateful that I'm sure, sorry,
so
they're
grateful.
so
Yeah.
grateful for what you're giving to them. That's such a gift.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I cut you off. Was there something else you were going to add there?
No, I think, I also do like just as an aside, we've got the WE.DOOH opportunity that I chair. And so it's just mentoring a lot of women in the industry very specifically. I joined a program last year where, they brought some young mentees in from all over the world. You've got like in Canada, like, tons of immigrants coming in. They have such a hard time to find a job. That was so rewarding. I got partnered up with this incredible young woman. Yeah. And we did mock interviews. She sent me, she recorded videos of her answering questions. Like, we got down to like what she should wear and how her hair should look. It was incredible. And, within a few weeks, like, she landed her first job in Toronto. And, she put this incredible post on LinkedIn about how I helped her and supported her on some of the most basic things that I think people don't talk about.
Right.
And,
I love
I'm
that.
open and so direct. So I get down to, what does your hair look like that day? And how are you feeling? And what does your smile look like? Because all of that, helps you in an interview.
It's incredible.
So
And
those are some
you're
of my
right.
favorite things to do.
I love that. I've got a question. Was there a moment when you felt fear or uncertainty about taking a risk? Maybe at that moment, what helped you move forward in those moments? There have probably been some milestone moments in your career, in your life, not only in the workplace, also just in real life. I mean, our life throws us a lot of curveballs, and there's been a few lately on a personal level that you've dealt with,
Yeah.
but there may be some on the business front or both that we can chat about.
Yeah, we could chat about like on the business front. I'll never forget, you never think you're going to be packaged out, right? You think, oh my God, I'm never going to be fired. And I remember like 15 years ago, it was just par for the course, big company, packaging people out, duplicate roles. And I got packaged out. And I thought that was the end. I was never going to, find another job again. And my mentor, my leader, who I had been working with for about 12 years. And, we were not together for a few years right away. She called me right away and said, I got you, girl. You've got a new job in this space in 8 weeks from now. Take a deep breath. I think that was the first time I had 8 weeks off, in like my first 15 years of work. And it was incredible. So to lean in into your network and into those mentors and into those friends that you have, because those are the people who are going to remember your work and your behave and the way that you care so much about the industry that they pull you right back in. And within 8 weeks, I was in the out of home industry with this new incredible job. And if I look back to 2009, when this happened, I'm now running an out of home global ad agency because she brought me into that industry, 16 years ago. So incredible. So what you think is such a detriment to your life and you're so embarrassed by it. I was, right? I was like, oh, how can I be fired? What is this? I'm packaged out. You get a package and you're mortified. Was actually such an incredible opportunity that would sort of dictate the path of the next 15 years.
Exactly.
And so,
and in the moment, it's
incredible.
probably really hard to see it, right? But as you look back on it now, you understand the value of it. And it's something you touched on, something that reminded me. There is so much in, asking those that know us to help us understand. I often say to people, ask one of your best friends who's not in the business to look at your resume and tell you something about yourself that's not in the resume, to give you pointers to add to it, because they recognize attributes and personality features and superpowers that you never would think to put on a resume. And there's a way to language them that makes sense.
Right.
But they recognize things about you. And I think, allowing yourself and giving yourself the gift of having the courage to ask people, to ask for help, to ask for support, but to ask people to say, am I missing something here? And I never forget, I have a girlfriend who was in sales for years in the garment business. She was, the industry was changing dramatically. She was a really, really senior executive at a major company doing great work. But her perspective was, I only know the fashion business. My estimation of her was, this woman knows her way around a spreadsheet like I have never seen. And I'm in an industry where I don't need to use a spreadsheet very often. This was probably 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And I said to her, I go, do you realize what you know? Do you realize that your skills of doing A, B, C, and D could translate into 20 other industries?
Right.
You don't have to stay in fashion. But let me tell you what your superpowers are. She literally never would have thought of herself that way. And
That's
it
such a
helped
good
her.
point.
Yeah. And I think
You
a lot of
have to
us do
ask.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to ask your friends and your mentors and people, that you trust that are around you, like, what else could I be doing? Is this what I want to do? Especially if you're in an industry and you want to reinvent yourself and, you're looking for something new to do. When I did my MBA, I thought, "Oh, maybe I'm just going to walk away from advertising and I'm going to go into investment banking. I've always loved the investment space. And no, when I came out of my MBA, everybody was so enamored by my business and the skill set that I had in comparison to my 65-person cohort, that I came out of that feeling so much more energized to say, no, this is where I want to be. I love media. I love the ever-changing landscape of advertising and marketing. And so you have to do things that are a little bit out of your comfort
Right.
to almost realize, oh, wait a second, I actually
I
really
have to
like
do
what
that.
I'm
Right.
doing, or I think I'm on the
Exactly.
right
Or try it
path.
on. Exactly. I always say
Right.
it's like put on those rose-colored lenses and see the world through a different perspective, and you'd be
Exactly.
amazed at what you'll actually see.
Yeah.
So you do it all. You do a lot. I know a lot about all the things that you juggle. What do you do for yourself to find the balance, as they say, even though we know that balance is a myth, but how many balls can we juggle, and
How
how
many
many
felt right.
things, what else do you love to do to give you breathing room, to give you space, to give you the joy that maybe you don't get all
Yeah.
the time in business, but that you get
Right.
elsewhere?
Yeah, so this year definitely has taught me so many things that I would have never thought of before, going through what I went through this year with my breast cancer diagnosis. And I was definitely at my worst, feeling absolutely terrible and really was helpless. I couldn't really do anything. And I came out of that. I'm here, I'm alive, I'm strong. And what I realized was, first of all, just take a deep breath. I now wake up to go to the gym as I always was. I take deep breaths and I just think, don't look at your phone first thing in the morning. Give yourself 10 minutes to be grateful for the day. I think that is so important. And I think everybody should include that. It's 10 minutes to be grateful for what you have, to be grateful for waking up and being alive and breathing, and to be grateful for getting to do what we do. And so I think gratitude is something that I've introduced since my diagnosis. And as I'm now on the other side trying to, kind of pick myself up and, I'm back at work and I'm seeing all my friends and I get to go to all my conferences again, but, definitely taking some time out for yourself just as silent and not rushing anything. I was always sort of running. I feel like for 26 years, I've been running as a mom, as a parent, as a leader, as a friend, just running to the next thing and making sure that I could do everything all in one day. And I think now I sort of take a step back and say, I think I need a break before that meeting and a break after that meeting, because I'm going to want to think about what just happened and I'm going to want. And so I think, those moments of sort of stillness and moments of gratitude, that's what sort of, gets me going, of course, amongst being at the gym and sort of connecting with friends and journaling. I think all of that has really just sort of helped me see life through a different lens and to
Yeah.
realize that, the day is so precious, and also about like just enjoying the day. I used to worry about what's going to happen next year or 2 years from now or 5 years from now. And I was never really one to do a 5-year plan. In business, we have to do 3 to 5 year plans. I'm like, really? We're going to know what's going to happen in 3 to 5 years. But, it's good protocol. But
Right.
for life, like the everyday is like just being grateful for today. And really, that's how I look at things now. It's like, today's going to be a wonderful day. And I wake up and I say this every day. Today, something wonderful is going to happen to me. And I say that every day. And I try and find that moment of wonderful that happens in my day. And says, yeah, this is it.
That's
And
incredible.
when you
My
say it every
gosh.
day, wonderful things will happen to you.
Yeah. And you see them. I mean, it's so interesting. I love how you just framed all of that up. I feel like we all need that, like as a poster on our wall, a bumper sticker. We're going to drop Mike on that particular moment and definitely reclip that, because it is so precious and so important that we hear it, but we don't do it.
We don't
I
do
often
it.
talk in the space of reinvention that sometimes we just need to pause long enough to listen to ourselves.
Yeah.
When we do that, that we give ourselves the grace to do that. We recognize things about not only ourselves, but also the world around us. And it's a pretty messy
Yeah.
world that we're living in right now. And if we can't take a
Yeah.
moment to at least acknowledge and appreciate the things that are, as to your point, I'm alive, I'm healthy, I'm breathing, I have what I have in my life, and to be able to recognize that it lifts us up and we have the power to
Yeah.
control so much of our emotional state and not be
Exactly.
victimized by everything else that's going on
Yeah.
and not feeding into that. So I just love that you really express that so beautifully, and the fact that you're reminding us and teaching us to take those moments and to
Yeah.
really just everything else can wait. I was with a girlfriend last night at a Laker game, and we were talking on the way home. We're both in the same business. And we were talking about the fact that we cannot believe all these years later how much busier we feel than we used to feel
Right.
doing the same thing we've been doing our whole
Right.
lives. And we kind of got into the why of it and the frenetic pace of always being on a Zoom call. You know, used to
Yeah.
be you'd be on a conference call or a cell phone call or a
Right.
phone
So you have to
call.
be physically on.
You'd have to be physically on, looking eyeball to eyeball for sometimes 6
Yeah.
hours in a day. You
Yeah.
can't be like eating your lunch while you're talking to someone. You can't be looking at
Sometimes I
something
do
else
that.
while you're doing that. We try, but you
Totally. I'm
sometimes you
like, I'm
cannot.
starving. I have to eat.
Right. You're like, I'm sorry, I got to eat while I talk to you. But
Right.
for the most part, the intensity of the way, because of technology and communication being at a level and a pace that is just ridiculous, it is what it is. But we realize, we just feel like there is no time to take that breath. There is no time to do the work. There is no time to review a document. How often do you put something aside and say, I'll read it tonight. I'll look at it over
Later.
the
Yeah.
weekend. I've got to give it some thought so that I can be really thoughtful about what I think and the feedback I
Yeah.
need to give or the edits I need to make. And then all of a sudden you get home from a dinner at 10:30 at night and you're like, really? Is that what I'm supposed to do now? Wait, this is my weekend. Is that really what I need to be doing now?
Right.
And we have to give ourselves just that, like you said, gosh, 10 minutes at the beginning of a day.
Just 10 minutes a day.
Take a breath. I mean, I
Yeah.
am guilty as the next person. I reach for my phone. I see all these things. I'm 3 hours behind the East Coast,
And
the
right. And you
Europeans.
start going.
And you
Yeah.
just, oh my God, this is my day. And is it changing? And I've got a call in an hour and I've got this. And we just don't. And we make excuses for why it's acceptable. But
Yeah.
I think it's so important for us to acknowledge that it's not always acceptable, and it is okay to not always operate at that level.
Exactly.
And, we'll still get it done. I had a dear friend years ago that reminded me. She said, I think I was probably always at the office. I had two little kids at home, and I'd be at the office at 7:30. And she was the head of a major studio, entertainment studio. And I remember one day she said to me, you really should go home at 6 o'clock or whatever time. She goes,
Yeah.
it's not going to make a difference. And I said, you don't
Right.
understand. If I'm not here, it won't get done. And that is so much work to do. And she goes, you know what? Just try it for 2 weeks and see what happens.
Right.
Is your
And it does
business going
get
to
done.
fall apart? Or your client's going
Right.
to fire you? And
Right.
she was 1,000% right. It might have been the
Yeah.
smartest thing anybody has ever said to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just need to listen to ourselves, listen to the advice of our dear friends, listen to our mentors, and be open. Just be open to how we can live the life that we're entitled to live and create what we need in our lives, wherever that is and whatever that is. So it really feels like, as hard as this lesson has been for you in the last year, and I've been on this journey with you and every step of the way and spent time with you, and here I thought I was coming to make you tea and sit around in pajamas, and you proved me wrong. You're like, let's go. We're going to the hottest restaurant
Let's
in
go out.
town. We're going out with
Yeah.
mom. I'm like,
Bald.
okay.
Bald and everything.
Stunning and gorgeous, and just, it's who you are, my friend. And I am just so proud of you and so honored that you are such a huge part of my life, and that I get to share you with this audience and tell our stories and share our stories and your journey. And you're such an inspiration. And I'm so grateful for you. So thank you. So any other advice or parting words that you would like to share with our
Yeah. I
community?
just think that I just spent my 50th birthday in this most amazing little town in Costa Rica, beach town. I didn't even know that I planned it a year and a bit ago before I got diagnosed. And I just I was like, for my 50th, I just want to be calm. I want to be surrounded by supportive and encouraging women. And that's what I set out to do. And that happened last week or 2 weeks ago. 25 women, all from different walks.
I was supposed to be there, everybody.
You were supposed to be there.
And sadly,
and
for
just,
various
friends
reasons,
from work and friends from camp and friends from school and friends from everywhere. And it was so beautiful, right? Not everybody knew each other, but yet here we were, 25 women showing up for each other, being quite supportive and just lifting each other up. And I think that's the power of women. And that's the power of what we have. It was just so special. I wish I could have just videoed the whole week and just, put it in a box to show everybody. And it's just so special that, we have that with each other. Guys have it in a different way. There's something so wonderful about being around 25 women. And for those young women out there, I've always just been open. I've been curious and I've been accepting. And so if you take those three basic concepts and basic words, and you take that through life, it'll help you. There's big changes and you have a big company that's acquiring your company and you start to panic. No, be open, be accepting of the change, be curious, ask questions. Where could you fit into this new environment, right? And that you have to be also in life, right? I got this diagnosis this year and I could have just dove into a dark cave and that would have been the end of it. And I couldn't. I had to be open about it. I had to say, okay, what's going on here? What do I need to learn? How does my nutrition change? How does my day-to-day change? What does my nervous system look like? What do I need to do to feel better? And so it's those, and be accepting of it too. It's like, I have to accept this.
Yeah, you can't resist.
Say,
well, but the resistance doesn't serve you.
It doesn't serve you. And so those are just sort of my parting words about, how you can address your work life and how you can address friends and your relationships. And I think that, just being really open and positive and accepting about things that come at you, because there'll be so many things that come at you, over the course of your career and of your life that you will be able to tackle it by being just really open and accepting of that.
Thank you, Debbie. Oh my gosh, beautiful words and so inspiring and so real. Words to live by. This conversation between us will always continue, thankfully. And I am just, as I said, honored to be able to share you with our whole audience today. For those listening, I hope you take these nuggets and go forth and conquer. And happy reinventing to all of you out there. As always, you can go to the Reinvention Exchange and follow lots of wonderful stories and conversation and content that will help you on your journey. So thank you for joining us and have a beautiful rest of your day. Debbie, thank you so much, honey. I love you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Power of Reinvention. If you enjoyed this episode, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review the show. Wouldn't mind a 5-star review. It would be greatly appreciated. Also, be sure to visit thereinventionexchange.com to share your reinvention stories, suggest a guest, join the newsletter mailing list, get access to my book, which is called Reinvent Your Life, What Are You Waiting For?, and discover fantastic bonus content with my blogs, and listen in to the Reinvention Virtual Chat series. Don't forget to join me next week for another episode. Please share with a friend, and thank you for listening. Happy reinventing.